Hello, everyone. My name is Holly with ACS, and welcome to today's ACS Technology Deep Dive featuring Meter and Graphiant. Today, we'll take a closer look at what each company brings to the table, how they're helping simplify connectivity, reduce costs, create more flexible, scalable solutions for your customers. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please drop them in the chat. We'll make sure to address them at the end of each presentation. We'll first kick things off with Meter, followed by Graphiant. So with that being said, I'll hand it over to the Meter team. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Holly, and hello, everybody. Really excited to share a little bit more about Meter with you all today. As I'm pulling up my screen, if you could just remember, if there's any questions as I'm going through the content today, please drop them in the chat. As Holly said, I'll save a few minutes at the end to ensure that we get to all of your questions. And if you're not familiar with Meter, or this is a new technology for you, please don't be shy and make sure to drop those questions in the chat. And so I think what success looks like today is really everybody leaving here with just a better understanding of who Meter is, potentially a story that you can tell, and really just a high level of confidence to trust us and introduce us to potential clients. I think something very interesting is happening in the networking space today. And when I refer to networking, I'm referring specifically to the local area network infrastructure. So all of the hardware and software that's inside the four walls of a building that helps end users connect to the internet. And that internet demand, the traffic, is only increasing year over year, given all of the demands on workloads and applications today. This is something that all of your clients are facing if they have a physical location. And the opportunity size is massive. It's something like $90 billion worth of network refresh over the next 5 years that we can go out there and capture our unfair share of. And it's almost this perfect storm right now because 1 in 4 network engineers are actually retiring at the end of this decade, which means you've got this large operational burden that your clients are facing and trying to manage, but it's becoming harder and harder for them to go out to the talent pool and actually find these folks that can maintain this critical infrastructure and bring them into their business and retain them. And so hopefully this gets you excited to try and go out there and capture more networking opportunities. And I'll give you a little bit more context in terms of what clients are dealing with and why kind of this perfect time right now for a solution like Meter. On the left-hand side, if you've ever walked into a networking closet at one of your clients, it probably looks something like this. You've got 5 to 6 different vendors that make up their network stack. You may have security appliances from one vendor, you may have switching layer from another vendor, and then you've got access points from another vendor. This creates a really difficult challenge for customers to solve because they've got 4 to 5 different portals that they need to go in just to manage this critical infrastructure. When they go out and try to procure a new network, think about, from a client experience perspective, having to work through 4 to 5 different vendors, order this bill of materials for all this different hardware, have it finally shipped to your location, and then the client's dilemma that they have to try and solve is, well, do we install all of this on our own? We're not low voltage cablers, so now we have to go and find another supplier to come in and just do the installation to get to that point of a live network, and then back to that kind of network engineering shortage. How are we going to manage and maintain all of this critical infrastructure? And so on the right-hand side, what you'll see is Meter has come to market and essentially collapsed that long list of 4 to 5, maybe even 6 different vendors that a client has to work with to maintain their network infrastructure down to just one. So very, very unique approach that we're bringing to the market. And it really starts with our hardware and software. So Meter started back in 2015, and the founders set out with a very lofty goal in mind, which was to build the first vertically integrated network stack from the ground up. It's never been done before. The reason it's very difficult, traditional networking suppliers would prefer to just acquire the pieces by buying other companies that they don't have in their network stack today. And so what you see here is everything from power distribution unit to firewalls to switching to access points, both cellular and wireless, that was designed and manufactured from the ground up by Meter. So I can't stress this enough how important it is that we make and manufacture all of this hardware. Because it was designed from the ground up, all of these pieces of hardware actually speak to each other, which allows us to give clients a much better experience when it comes to just scalability, but more importantly, troubleshooting and time to resolution. We deliver all of this hardware, as well as we've written one network operating system that allows clients to manage hundreds, thousands of locations from a cloud-based dashboard, but also have visibility into every single piece of hardware here. So we've got the unified product, which is really the first of its kind and kind of gives us the ability to go to market very differently from traditional networking. But our operational model is very different as well. So we think about traditional networking, you've got, again, 4 to 5 different vendors for all of the boxes. You've got another vendor for design and installation, and then potentially another vendor for management of the infrastructure. And then, in 5 years, the traditional networking supplier shows up again and says, hey, are you ready to spend more money with us and buy new boxes? We'd love to do business with you again, and then see you in 5 more years. Whereas with Meter, we actually design and deploy all of the networks alongside our partners for clients, which means we're that single provider end to end. And we don't actually leave once the network is live. It is a SLA-based offering and a co-management approach, meaning we are on the hook for the outcome month in and month out to your customers, ensuring that they have a performant, redundant, and secure network, and really focusing again on the outcome of that network and being held to an SLA as well. The last part that's really different, if you remember me saying the traditional networking suppliers go to market is in 5 years, they want your customer to come back and buy more hardware. We actually include hardware upgrades at no additional cost for our clients. So in 5 years or in 3 years into the term, when Meter comes out with a new version of hardware, we actually give it to all of our customers at no additional cost. And the reason for that, it's philanthropic to some extent, but also, because we are an SLA-based offer and Meter is on the hook for that network uptime, it's in our best interest to always have clients on the latest version of hardware, so that it's going to reduce the amount of truck rolls that Meter has to provide as a supplier, but also improves the customer experience when it comes to maintaining that network infrastructure. And then the last component that makes our offering just very, very different. Traditional networking go-to-market is let's build a box for as cheap as we possibly can and sell it for as much as we can, because that space in the middle is the margin. Well, for us, because we are an outcome-based networking provider, we actually offer this in a subscription-based model. So if you think about the large upfront capital risk that clients need to take on just to stand up a new network or refresh a current network, all of that is removed with Meter. So we actually take on the upfront capital risk on behalf of the client. We invest in all of the hardware that's required for the space. We invest in all of the installation and professional services that's required for the space. And then we just charge the client in a subscription-based model for the outcome of what they actually want, which is just a network that works. We have flexibility here. There are certain verticals, if you think of private equity-backed organizations that really want to capitalize this subscription on their books, they can absolutely do so. And again, because we're not selling boxes, we deploy as much hardware as necessary for that space. And the way that we calculate the subscription is just based on square footage. So if you think about a building, typically the 4 walls don't change. It's allows us to provide a predictable cost to customers. CFOs love this because there's no predictability in traditional networking. We're able to solve that challenge that's been there for the last 30, 40 years. And again, just a subscription-based model allows us to provide quotes to clients and partners very, very quickly with just a sitemap of the location. Now, again, keeping in the vein of simplicity, in traditional networking, clients need to decide what are the features that I need, and then each one of those features typically has a cost that comes along with it. So you've got different licensing tiers, different security, user or feature sets that they need to pay for. We give all clients all of the features that are on the truck. They just consume the ones that they need. And so there's really only two different models, one being premium and one being pro. The only difference between premium and pro is in pro, the client or the partner has the ability or the flexibility to actually perform the installation. Outside of that, everything else you'll see is exactly the same. All of the same hardware, all of the same feature set. We actually will still assist in the deployment, but boots on the ground in the professional model can either be clients if they have the resources on staff, or partners if they've got an advanced services arm of their business. Let's talk a little bit about where are we seeing success alongside our partners? What types of client profiles are benefiting and choosing to go with Meter? If you look at warehousing, logistics, you're talking very big spaces. Some of them have a lot of IoT in there now. You've got forklifts that are all connected and have to maintain critical infrastructure uptime. So we're seeing very high close rate in warehouses. Your standard office space has always been our bread and butter. If you think like high density, lots of connected devices, those are typically complex network environments where we do very well there. Education is another big one for us. We're E-rate ready. We have our SPIN number. We're able to help our clients, our partners, and their clients in the education space who tend to have very lean IT teams. You may have 1, 2, or 3 people who are really managing all of the technology infrastructure for the school or the campus. They have seen a lot of value in moving to Meter because of all of the operational benefits and economic benefits. And then last, I would say, is more of a distributed enterprise, think retail, multi-location environments. The more location has, the more difficult it is to maintain all of that network infrastructure because you have the same challenges in one location as you do kind of extrapolated across 100 or 1,000. Let's dive a little bit deeper into kind of customer profile. We talked about the different verticals. What are some of the triggers that we're seeing that can help partners identify Meter opportunities? And lean IT teams probably has to be at the top of that list. If you look at kind of mid-market businesses and even lower enterprise, oftentimes they have a very small IT team that is responsible for everything. It really isn't until you get into upper enterprise or majors where they may have 30 or 40 folks on the IT team, lots of network engineers with many acronyms at the end of their name who are able to kind of still write, CLI and maintain all of this infrastructure. But outside of that, there's a sweet spot there where clients are really looking for a way to kind of offload or create efficiency around how they're maintaining their network infrastructure. They really want their IT team to be looking at kind of more strategic initiatives, whether it's like bolstering their cybersecurity posture or an AI initiative that's actually going to drive revenue for the business, managing network tickets on a daily basis is something that we see these smaller IT teams dealing with, but really looking for a way to offload that. And so if you've got clients that are resource constrained IT teams, this is a great place to start asking them questions like, how long is it taking you on a day-to-day basis to maintain your network infrastructure? When is the next hardware refresh coming up? Another big trigger would be if you've got clients that are coming to you for connectivity is, are you opening new locations? Or if we're upgrading you from maybe 100 megs to a 1 gig circuit, that security appliance that it's going to connect to and the other network infrastructure within the space, what's your plan for that? Because oftentimes that's where the unpredictability comes in for clients. They upgrade the connectivity, they then have to go to CFO to buy a bigger box to support the throughput. It's a perfect opportunity for us to have a conversation with them and show them that there's actually a new option outside of and very different from what they've had to kind of work through for the last 30 to 40 years with traditional networking suppliers. So new site openings, expansions, relocations, all great opportunities for us to spark up a new conversation with clients. If you look, we're helping clients across many, many different verticals. Some of the largest clients in the world, some of the mid-market businesses within the world are finding value in moving to Meter, whether it's schools, whether it's professional sports teams, whether it is financial organizations or logistical organizations. There's a massive, massive opportunity out there right now with that 90 billion in hardware refresh across the next 5 years. I want to talk just about a quick use case here, and then I think what I'll do is probably wrap and take some questions if you have any. But Crown College was brought to us by a partner. They were experiencing not only challenges with maintaining their network infrastructure, but because of where they were located, they actually had poor cell reception as well. And so as we started the conversation with Crown College, they were very adamant that they needed to not only fix the wireless infrastructure, but they needed a way to solve for the cellular reception problem, because having staff and students on campus, they had safety concerns if there was the need to call 911. And having poor cell reception really blocked them from being able to do that. Funny enough, they had in one of the wings of this building a small corner that they actually called the cell phone corner. And that's where staff and students had to go just to be able to complete a phone call. So we did two things for Crown College. We helped them to standardize and refresh all of their network infrastructure on Meter. They, again, had a small IT team. It was less than 5 folks on the team that were managing everything today. But in addition to that, we have a cellular network solution, which is very unique. It is an alternative for what traditionally have been called distributed antenna systems. And we one of the only providers that has contracts with all 3 carriers. So think Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. And what's really unique about this solution is we don't depend on the outside or nearby cell reception or towers. We're able to actually go out through the ISP connection. We get access back to the carrier cores, which just is a fancy way of saying we're able to access the signal that AT&T, Verizon, or AT&T would create and pull that back through the internet and actually recreate that signal within the space to guarantee 5 bars of service anywhere throughout the entire building. So really, really unique opportunity. This was a fast moving opportunity from introduction to close. It was actually less than 4 months. Nice, healthy deal. Crown College has been a great customer for us. They've actually come out to a lot of different events that we've hosted to speak on panels and advocate for Meter in other client environments. And so I think where I'd like to end is very, very different from traditional networking. For the last 40 years, clients have really only had a few options in terms of how they're able to either refresh or stand up new network environments. We're bringing a different approach that has all of the different incentives aligned for both customers and partners in an SLA-based model. And oftentimes, you're not able to actually run this type of exercise and find cost savings. But because of the way that we're structured and the way that our incentives are aligned and that we manufacture all of this hardware and we've written all of this software, what we're seeing on a case-by-case basis in comparison to a 5-year traditional option is around 30% total cost of ownership savings for clients. So not only are we helping reduce the operational burden on clients, giving them all the hardware necessary to maintain critical infrastructure, we're actually saving them money in the long run as well. And then it's reflected really in our retention rate. So this 99.6 customer retention rate, the solution's really sticky. Once they put Meter in, they tend to stay with Meter for the long term. One more thing here, we've also rolled out the $100 million partner fund. You may have seen it. If you have not, I've got 6 different channel managers on my team spread across the United States. I'm happy to share our territory map so that you can reach out, get in touch with the folks on my team. But what this commitment to the channel entails is really incentives on both the partner side, but also incentives on the customer side. So think back to that 90 billion in hardware refresh. We really want to help you accelerate the move of your customers from traditional networking to meter. And so we've got a ton of investment available, whether it's buyback of certain hardware within the customer's environment today, whether it is lucrative incentives on the partner side once closed won revenue tiers have been hit. This is something I want all of you to take advantage of. And so please don't hesitate to reach out to my team to learn more. All right, so I'm going to jump over to Q&A. Looks like Patrick has a question here. Do you see your service offering interfering with MSP services? If no, how do you cater your pitch to engage MSPs to bring in meter? It's a great question, Patrick. We actually have seen a lot of MSPs adopting meter as the default network solution within their business, and there's a few reasons for that. One is oftentimes they still want to capture the advanced services. And when we were building out the offering, the professional option is really where we had MSPs in mind. So they're absolutely able to still capture the top line revenue when it comes to installation. We've also built the management UI with MSPs in mind. So it's one login where they're able to manage and support all of their client networks across the globe. They get access to all the same knobs and dials that our engineering and support team does as well. And so they can still be front line of defense for adds, moves, and changes. So it actually works out very, very well. But speed to revenue for them is another big one. They don't have to take on the upfront capital risk for their clients by purchasing all of this hardware upfront, deploying it, and then waiting for that money to come back into the business from clients. Again, we're taking on that upfront capital risk. So for them, that margin turns into just 100% profit. Standard terms are 3, 4, and 5 year. I would say 95% of the contracts that we write alongside our partners are 5 years. And I think just inherently the way that clients have purchased hardware infrastructure in the past is on kind of that 5 to 7 year cycle. And so that's typically where we land. Yeah, good question.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Vincent. Justin, if you want to take it away.
Awesome job, Vince. It's great to collaborate, and I think of Meter as really one of our best business partners. Like when I think of Meter, I've been on multiple calls with partner advisors that are not familiar and referred them. And the reason I do that is, I mean, Meter is really game-changing technology for the LAN, and really what we're covering and is everything that's really WAN, cloud, edge. And when I say edge security. So first off, Holly, can everyone hear me? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So just a little bit of background about us and kind of how we go to market, where we're having success. So Graphiant's network as a service provider. So like when I think of network as a service, one of those big FAQs I get all the time. Are you like Meter? No, they're the next generation for LAN. We're the WAN, cloud, and AI. Are you just like Lumen? No, we did a multi-year POC with Lumen. They're basically just using NAS as a retention strategy for their legacy services, and then backhauling traffic across DVCs. And then they just bolted on a multi-cloud company that they have to integrate. As network as a service, are you like Megaport? No, Megaport is the easy button from data center to cloud. That's not what we view network as a service. Really, how we started out is our founder, 2008, Khalid Raza, built the first SD-WAN product inside of Cisco. So really an expert on segment routing, MPLS, SD-WAN, and Layer 3 network technology. He left Cisco when they chose to not move forward with the project and co-founded a company called Viptela. Viptela was one of those first true pure play enterprise SD-WAN offerings. And The problem was he started building SD-WAN in 2008. And by the time that Mattel was acquired, that acquisition started in 2015, completed in 2017, hyperscale taken off. And when we say hyperscale, we mean connectivity to AWS, Azure, Google, and Oracle. That's really what had changed from 2008 to the time that SD-WAN really became normal wide area networking for mid-market and enterprise, but 2012, 13, 14, 15. So this was the network diagram really of PNC Bank. So that was a customer that was a Viptela customer, became a Cisco customer, and they were deploying 6,500 locations. And usually the way things are invented is there has to be a better way. And really, when they were deploying SD-WAN at 6,500 global locations, just like warehouses, you have a bunch of IoT connected devices, you have branches, you have campuses, you have corporate headquarters, you have a bunch of data center infrastructure, you have a multi-cloud, multi-region environment, and you have a lot of SaaS applications. And the challenge is it's really hard to operate, manage, maintain, and deploy SD-WAN at scale because you lack visibility. It's hard to stitch together disparate topographies. It just ends up being every time you're adding a site, you're merging networks, it's just another tunnel, and you lose visibility of your data in motion. So originally when SD-WAN was created, it was for what was there, right? They were trying to really move the revenue from the telco operators like AT&T and Verizon, and Cisco was trying to move that revenue to the OEM providers, the hardware providers. And they didn't think about what was next. So we built our founder built a secure network fabric for what's next. What's next is really AI. And really today, the way partners and us really monetize what Graphian is there's really three things that we charge customers for fundamentally. We charge customers for site-to-site traffic across our core. So that means any edge to any edge. So I think of traditional MPLS or SD-WAN. Charge customers for site to public cloud. So if you've ever sold a customer that has data center or megaport, right? Typically your data center to public cloud, where a customer connects via IPsec VPN off their SD-WAN or edge gateway. So what we do is we really provide that same fabric story to any branch, even a trailer, even a warehouse, even a semi-truck that has public internet. If you have a Starlink, if you have a 4G, 5G, we're giving you global network fabric to connect to any site or any public cloud, just like a tier one data center. The last thing we do, just like a tier one data center, is we connect business partners together. So we're using the stateless core network to connect any site to any site to any public cloud, or any business partner to business partner. And I'll get a little bit more in the weeds and use cases for business data exchange in a moment. So that's really what modern network architecture looks like. It looks like a fabric. We don't sell circuits. We're a global 100 gig or 400 gig, depending on region, middle mile operator. And just like when I say middle mile, I think of companies like Meta, $3.4 trillion organization that some of our executive team came from. If I'm going to Facebook or Instagram, I'm using my public internet to go connect to their backbone, and their backbone routes my traffic to my application. That's what a middle mile or a backbone operator provides. We're routing your traffic layer 1 through 7, so all the way to the application layer. That means site to site, site to cloud, or site to business. And it gave you that why. Site to AI workloads and inference, to SaaS applications. And that's really what we're doing. You notice there's something that's the stateless core. What stateless core means is my core has no state. So one of those FAQs I get all the time, frequently asked question, how is this different than Cato? I would say the same way hosted voices to copper POTS line. So Cato is a SASE operator that charges a license by the size of your bandwidth. So if I have a 100 meg license, Scato's charging a customer for a 100 meg SASE license. We don't do that. We're a license-free organization. So when that customer goes from 100 meg to a gig, my license price doesn't go up because we're not charging by the size of their circuit. Like that could be a 10 meg circuit, or it could be a 100 gig circuit. That has nothing to do with our pricing model. We're charging for private traffic site to site to cloud, or site to business application or business partner. That stateless core is important because fundamentally why we won the FAA modernization project, Department of Health and Human Services, why we won AT&T as a customer, and why we won the largest asset holder in the US, along with several sovereign militaries and countries, is we're not a SASE provider. SASE providers bring your data to a cloud, do an encrypt, decrypt, do a decrypt, encrypt. And part of the challenge for 2029 standardization is being ready for post-quantum encryption at layer 3, meaning I'm not going to go deal with dwell state because a bad actor has put something on my network and waiting for supercomputers for 29, right? So if you work with banks, you work with healthcare, you work with state, local government, 3 of our great verticals, you work with defense contractors, another great vertical, right? We're providing post-quantum encryption at layer 3, the only provider in the ACS portfolio today for your network. Where we're similar to Meter, we do everything on a single SKU. Really, the core difference is we're not charging by footage. How we charge customers is tokenized bandwidth that you're just transmitting for private traffic. Really, not the amount of data, but the speed you want to transmit on an aggregate. So really what that looks like is site to site to cloud, B2B data exchange. That's what we charge for. We have a lot of things on that single SKU that are free. So instead of free, sometimes the way we would describe that is a native feature. Native means it's on the platform. You don't use it, we don't care. It's kind of like if you go to a really cold climate, you don't use your air conditioner, your car's not less expensive. So for us, right, we're providing SD-WAN as a free native feature. Firewall, doesn't matter if it's 1 or 1,000. You can literally go provide 1,000 firewalls. Patrick asked a question about MSPs. MSPs are great fits because if I am a small MSP and I get a 25% buy rate from Fortinet and I'm a small business, what differentiation do I have? I give that MSP every firewall they could sell in perpetuity for $0. They want to go deploy a one-site SD-WAN, it's free. Edge security. So if you think of things like Cisco AMP and Snort, right? Securing the wide area network edge, that is a free native feature. Observability. So observability for WAN, cloud, and AI. One of the things that was incredibly humbling, I left AT&T about a year and a half ago, and I was in the process of interviewing actually to work at Cisco of all places, and I clicked on the wrong link. And I clicked on a small business, like a lower mid-market, large small business rep job by accident. And the thing that hit me like a ton of bricks was the OT for that job was $380,000 to $440,000 at plan. So just to be a really mediocre farmer, it's a 400+ K job. And that same job at a telco like AT&T or Charter, right? That same, or Comcast, that same job's about $110,000 to be a mid-market AE. Why? And that why is hardware manufacturers like your Cisco's, your Palos, your Silver Peaks, Fortinets. Those are all really software companies. Really, what we do fundamentally is we take every SKU and license that they would sell. So SD-WAN, firewall, edge security, observability for WAN, cloud, and AI, SOC, NOC, threat intelligence, data assurance, data governance, AI governance, and we make that a delete. We make that a $0 cost feature on the network. And that's really that core game changer for us. We also, before I showed you what an edge looks like, so we're deploying this all on commodity hardware. So commodity hardware means if I need a 2 gig edge for my nonprofit, it's $398 for a 2 gig piece of equipment with no perpetual licensing, no patching or software refreshes. If I am a customer that already has invested in server infrastructure, so Broadmox, VMware, KVM, ESXi, great. They have a virtual edge. We're just deploying our software on their virtual edge. So that to us is fundamentally important because the thing that was just eye-opening to me, I worked at two big telcos for 23 years, the biggest MSO now after that merger, and the largest LEC. And I got millions of dollars in MDF. I couldn't even afford to go to channel partners for my whole team if I didn't take money from Cisco, Palo Alto, Checkpoint, and Fortinet. They were literally paying for most of my budget for MDF marketing events. And the reason for that is when we would go sell a $25 or $50 SD-WAN over the top of a circuit, they would go set up an enterprise EA and they would go sell a firewall license, security license for the edge, an observability license, and if the customer wanted to connect to cloud, a BNF license. So one thing that's really humbling to me coming over to this role is the smallest Cisco customer that has $1,000 for observability. So 10 location small business. The cheapest package they sell, or least expensive package, is $30,000 annually, $2,500 a month. Their mid-market and enterprise customers over a certain seat count is $84,000 a year is their smallest package, right? $7,000 a month. It's crazy. So what might be really shocking is when you have a 5-location customer, they're paying over $1,000 a site for firewall, edge security, and observability more often than not, even if they're a small or medium business. That's the reason why you can pay a farmer at Cisco 4 times more than you can at the network operator, because it's all the margin on that licensing. So think of this as really what is turning, think of a lot of you have made a lot of money at POTS replacement or replacing T1 MPLS. This is that for the wide area network. One of those other easy button deletes, simple use case is any customer's got public cloud. Statistically speaking, 86% of the United States that is mid-market or above connects to AWS, Azure, Google, and Oracle. Look it up, Google it, find it. If I connect via any SD-WAN or firewall appliance that your customer has that you didn't sell, they're paying for CNF Cross Connect and they're paying for VNF license, a perpetual license to pay 200% more for connecting to cloud. How does that look? This is a very large customer. It's a named customer. It's Canva. We provide their multi-cloud environment for AWS, Azure, Google, and Oracle. We also connect them to SaaS applications and neoclouds. Take this figure, divide by 12. They're a hybrid environment, so they have a couple telco express routes, but everything else is using IPsec off their SD-WAN provider's gateway. So think about NATing, firewalls. That's what I want you to focus on right here. Those are what we delete. So every customer you've ever sold, so you sold a carrier, sold Fortinet or Cisco, you basically cost your customer 200% to connect to public cloud if they're doing it. Because their egress traffic is all public, it's 8.7 cents, and they pay for the NATing and firewall on their AWS, Azure, Google, or Oracle bill. What we do is we provide privatization. It's the reason why customers go data center and Megaport. It's because that's private traffic. So we get the question all the time, isn't Megaport and are you competitors? Not exactly. They're an easy button data center to public cloud. We give every branch in the globe that has any level of internet the same fabric as an Equinix or Digital Realty. It doesn't matter if it's a little trailer in a parking lot. Doesn't matter if it's a semi-truck that's got an IoT device or a simple 5G card. We're giving them fabric to connect to applications and cloud. So this customer, they bought 10 gig connectivity. They had 2 10 gig express routes, but those are circuits. They're not being billed on this aggregate speed. They're being billed whether they use it or not. So this customer, we're single SKU. Could this be 1,000 location SD-WAN, 1,000 firewalls, or edge security and observability? Absolutely. One thing to keep in mind, those are always different economic buyers. So we're not an all or nothing proposition. But for this customer, we reduced their cost by 47%. This $180,000, it's what you all make money on. So we pay ACS 20% of that. So that's 36 grand at the time of billing. So it's not reoccurring unless they do a reoccurring bill. But this customer did it on a 12-month license. So if they did 36 months, we would go pay you 36 months of that. It's kind of a land and expand. And then we also would pay a 2x spiff. So we essentially have to go pay someone $66,000 to crush this customer's bill by 47% that was not under contract because they were just getting paid, charged idiot fees for using IPsec VPN. Your customers have this. There's not a single person on this call that does not have customers that are using SD-WAN gateways to connect to public cloud. This is my favorite thing we do. I talked about it earlier, and it sounds too esoteric sometimes, so I'm going to talk to it through use cases. Business-to-business data exchange. Again, every single person that's on this call, at least 40% of the customers you've sold in your entire career have business-to-business data exchange, probably more than that. So I'll give you a use case. Got a 20-location car dealer. Great. WAN's really, really attractive, but that's not what sold the customer. What sold the customer is I'm a car dealership, and I have to go connect my service center to diagnostics, and it takes hours to get the results back. That's because they have a small, puny VPN license from Cisco. And I have to go stand up a very expensive connection to my dealer software management. That's also a B2B VPN. And one of my biggest pain points is all these software downloads because I sell all these EVs. That's a B2B VPN. That was that customer's pain point. I had a fun win the other day. Fortune 300 financial services company. Great win. A few dollars for all of us and a lot for the trusted advisor. But their pain point is, hey, I'm a publicly traded financial services company. I have a multi-cloud environment in AWS and Azure, and I have crypto exchanges, bid banks, and financial advisors that resell my services. I need to go connect 350 to one application. That's called a one-to-one NAT. And I need to connect all 300 many customers to another application. That's called one-to-many NAT. I need it all to be micro-segmented, meaning their data can't talk to each other. That's B2B data exchange. Let's take this, whatever city you live in. I have to securely connect to school systems, fire, EMS, police. That's B2B data exchange. That's B2B VPN. I have a healthcare company. Great. They're connecting to electronic healthcare records, insurance companies, police, fire. It's all B2B VPN. Any manufacturer, anyone who has point of sale has B2B VPNs. That is the easy button because we're a 400 gig network that securely connects them in minutes and without having to do. So the big pain with B2B VPNs is you have to manually configure them because one provider has one type of technology and the other has, like, let's say Apollo customer has to go connect to a Cisco customer. It's very, very painful because you're having to do manual config. So what we've done is simplify it by using really LAN segments and VRFs. We have an easy to use GUI, so typically someone can stand these up in 6 to 8 minutes versus we had a customer, call it the fourth largest global payment processor. They were spending upwards of 300 hours of man time to stand up a simple B2B VPN because of all the manual configs and DMZs that they were having to deal with. Huge security risk. And again, none of your customers have post-quantum encryption, or very few, unless we've already sold them at layer 3. So they all have to replace this technology. So it's kind of like the golden age where literally by 2029, you can't work in a highly regulated industry or with a highly regulated industry and not have post-quantum encryption. This is probably the one that I'd say the advisors struggle with the most because it's too esoteric. So one of those cool stats that I learned is 2024 to 2025, customers spent less money on cybersecurity. And a big part of that why is AI budgets are out of control. So earlier I made this outlandish statement. We provide observability for WAN, cloud, and AI. Just the WAN observability is $30K. You can't even build governance in it. right? And then they also have to then pay for cloud observability and AI observability. You know, those three of the things that are native to our platform. So take that car dealership. It wasn't the B2B VPNs. It wasn't reducing their total cost of ownership of their Cisco Meraki's to us by 85%. That wasn't the thing that was the most exciting to them. Their pain point is AI. Crappy little car dealership. Why? Because if I'm a sales rep, I'm using Claude and ChatGPT to go put together proposals on the corporate network. Now what I'm doing is I have shadow AI exposing invoice pricing, right? I have a university I'm working with in Texas. Their pain point, their problem statement is I have 8 different AI tools and I want to consolidate the tool to, and I have no idea how much I'm spending in AI tokens. What our platform does is it allows you to see every token that's being consumed and what it's charging you. And it also allows you to build governance, meaning I want certain departments to use AI tools, but only this AI tool. I want to restrict others to do that on the corporate network. That's what our platform does. So if AI is something that you're not confident in, you're not monetizing, the reason we give it away is the whole reason this exists, why we get the funding to do this, and why the federal government, the largest LEC, and the largest asset holder buy from us, is they're struggling with AI around their B2B VPNs and SaaS applications. They're hemorrhaging money on AI tokens. They don't know what to do. That's the same if you have a 5-location healthcare customer, they're struggling with this. If you have a car dealership, they're struggling with this. Customers are looking for governance on AI. We're your easy button. So ICP, right? And I'll fly through so we can do questions. I want to connect to public cloud and I'm in a branch office. That's easy. I want to reduce my fixed costs with OEMs. That's any hardware manufacturer for the WAN because Vince's team crushes the LAN side of it. I'm born in the cloud. I might be a 0-location customer. I have an AI robotics company that needs to connect to EHR software and public cloud. They don't have a site. They don't have a network bill. That's still a good customer. Customers that have multiple lines of business. So I think of private equity, VC. We have a lot of MSP-like companies, and we're designed for MSPs because you can have all those tenants not talk to each other. Like when we sold Sony Pictures Entertainment, right? For them, they have movie studios, they have all the Alamo draft houses, they have the animation studios. They don't need to talk to each other. That's multi-tenancy in a single customer instance. Healthcare, financial and banking, industrial, manufacturing, state, local government, federal as well. We can sell, just like Vince was talking about, E-rate all day, every day. Give that to us all day on the WAN. We crush it. Mid-market and enterprise. I say mid-market because they have public cloud. And we also pay you to sell carriers. So like kind of like Patrick's question, your MSP or your referral partner does not go through a traditional TSD channel. You could go sell all these capabilities to them and be paid on it because we sell for you. What to listen for, buying signs, too many tools, slow deployments, M&A, AI, data and security initiatives. That's the thing that we shy away from because it's not your sweet spot. That's our sweet spot and we sell for you. So if you're not comfortable, hey, this is a problem. I think I have an interesting vendor for you. Hardware and SaaS license refreshes. At a 165 location global customer, they had a $3.2 million Meraki refresh on hardware and licensing just for SD-WAN. No security, no cloud. Their end-to-end solutions, $400,000 over 3 years. If you're not comfortable saving someone 85% of their cost of ownership, great. Let's sell it for more. Where do we win? We're going to crush almost every customer you've ever spoken to's public cloud bill, the connection to connect to it, not the licensing. I want to democratize my network, meaning I don't want to be holding to a single SKU. B2B data exchange, that's what everyone has in AI. Speed the market. We can go deploy this in a couple hours. I'm sitting in a restaurant in Columbus, Ohio. Could I connect this restaurant in 2 hours to AWS, Azure, Google, and Oracle and have the same connectivity level as a tier 1 data center? Yes, I could. Security-minded customers. How we work, one thing I've really, really learned, and I would challenge each of you to this, and it made selling Graphiant really easy where it used to not be easy for me. The best way to sell us is think about someone you've done business with for 5+ years. And what I would challenge each of you, especially that person that really craves to learn about what's next, new technology, they're intellectually curious just as a human. I've talked about some use cases like deals I've won or deals I've helped partners win. It's not as meaningful because it's theoretical. It's someone else's. You haven't seen it soup to nuts, but most importantly, you haven't heard your customers say how it would impact them. So I would strongly challenge, because when you're not starting with a sale, you're starting with education and education about what's important to them. That's the best way to learn your own use case. You hear what your customer says and who that economic buyer is, and you can replicate that across your other customer base. We sell for or with. I always love if you're trying to facilitate that first call with that buyer that you know, love, and trust, their website, their LinkedIn, because I'm trying to understand what part of the technology stack they own, and a fun fact, meaning it could be something you sold them, a pain point, an initiative they're working on. That's usually how we have the most success, because then it just kind of opens the floodgates, because you hear how we transform your customer from your customer rather than from a salesperson like myself. And to me, that's the most powerful way to educate yourself. And the reason I learned about all those different licensing costs is from partners who thought they knew everything and sold everything, and then learned from their customer what they were spending because they already bought. My favorite one is that I had this partner who's like, Justin, this is great. I really love your technology. I'm never going to sell this. I'm just going to put you in front of 20 consecutive customers. And his first one was this 35 location healthcare customer. And he's the smartest guy in the room. Just ask him, he'll tell you. And what was fascinating is he sold every circuit at all sites, their DR circuits, sold their data center, sold their cloud connectivity, sold their Megaport, their contact center, their UC, POTS replacement, everything soup nuts. But is economic? But so we do this. We do a demo of our technology. And the customer's like, "This is amazing. Why didn't you bring this to me last year? We bought Silver Peak, and we hate it. It's been 9 months, and we've deployed 3 out of 35 locations. We're about to go hire a third-party MSP because we can't even go stand up our own network. We're spending $48,000 a month on it." And that's interesting. So like, because Silver Peak, right? If you Google their price for a 1 gig license, you'd actually go find it's right around $1,000 before you add security elements on it, because they've struggled with shadow AI. So they've actually published all their pricing. So I find that interesting because that's a customer telling, and they're also even saying what they're spending, because all they're doing is learning about technology and educating their partner. So I challenge you to each do that. Patrick's question, can we be built on the same paper? Could if we sold to an MSP. But we work a lot, especially in the automotive sector with ACS. That's a Meter and Graphiant win time and time again. Billing model is a little different because we're typically selling either a pay-as-you-go or month-to-month, 12-month, 24, 36. Patrick, we can do standalone SD-WAN. It's probably our least interesting product. But like I run into that with VARs, and then also like MSPs. If I'm an MSP, do I have to provide the entire SKU? No, they can provide only the elements they want. So like if we sell to a service provider or an MSP, Patrick, like SD-WAN standalone, right? MSP could do that. When we're selling retail, it's a single SKU. Or our trusted advisor will tell us, I had one with Cato the other day. It's a happy Cato customer. Partner does not want to displace it. So the whole thing is, Justin, they're an industrial manufacturer. I do not want to erode my margins and my comp. And the customer loves Cato. So no pain there. Pain is connecting to public cloud. They didn't have public cloud when I sold it. You're a better way to do that. And they have all these B2B VPNs, and they have challenges with it. They're trying to do an AI project, and they don't know how to proceed because they don't have any observability. Great. then I'm not talking about a single SKU product. I'm not providing a deck. I'm going through the customer use case because it's not my customer, it's your customer. And that's how we would go side by side with an incumbent. Usually we're not a big rip and replace. No one wants to go replace a WAN all at once. That's not like, ooh, that's a fun project. The ones that are quick are public cloud, and it's usually the customer use case, pain, or goal that dictates what part that we sell. What's helpful is it's agile, because could we be over the top of any OEM? Sure. Because again, we were designed not to replace Cisco products. We're designed to make them compatible with a specific customer environment. That was the whole reason the company exists.
All right. Well, thank you, Justin. And all right, thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll be sending a follow-up to all of our partners and the ACS team members who joined the call, along with a recording of today's webinar. A big shout out to Meter and Graphiant for leading today's presentation and sharing their insights with us. We appreciate everyone taking the time to join, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
We love ACS. Thanks for being first with us.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.